Live.
Wait for it. Miller and Moulton, 27 minutes before the hour. Seth Everett, kind enough to give us a few minutes, although he seems a little low on energy this morning. You're dragging. It's those 4 a.m. wake-up calls to do those Alabama sports updates.
Alabama sports. Don't worry. I know everything. Georgia's playing Auburn this Saturday. I know. I've been there. I feel like I've seen the game already. It hasn't even happened. My God.
It's the oldest rivalry in the Deep South.
What's the matter? Don't be coming on here dismissing Georgia Auburn. That's a real game. Unlike
it's just funny. The Monday night game happened. The Tampa Bay Lightning won the Stanley Cup, and I led with a game that's 5 days away. I've lived in Denver, Seattle, Syracuse, New York. I've never done that 5 days away.
Welcome
you
to
led with the wrong
lead?
story because Alabama's playing against A&M, and that's way bigger in Alabama than Auburn, Georgia. I don't know what to tell you.
And we led the other half with those.
We're figuring it out.
I think I ended one of my sportscasts with, the Chiefs beat the Ravens, and I didn't even have time for the score.
Seth, we have 8. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. We have 8 baseball playoff games today.
I know, and the spin doctors are selling this like this is a historically amazing thing. It's wonderful. These division winners are being raked over the coals, and I thought when the game started that I wouldn't care that division winners are playing best of threes against teams that can easily beat them, and it's the truth, and I hate it. And that Twins game left a bad taste in my mouth, and I hate the whole thing. I hate this whole round, and I just want to skip this week.
And Seth, I think I'm with you because I have no interest in watching today, and I think it's largely because of the 9th inning of the Twins-Astros game.
But you had a great line yesterday.
Once I saw the air and Altuve walk to make it 2-1, I went, oh, come on, you're killing me. But it's perfect 2020. Seth, at the end of the day, the Astros winning this series is better for baseball.
Well, there'll be intrigue, and the Twins. It's ridiculous. The 17 games in a row. It's absurd. There are guys from the first loss that are out. Nobody's still in the game. It's ridiculous. But the problem that I have with this, if you needed to add a round, you had to do it. You have to have some kind of incentive for the division winner, and there is absolutely none. The Houston Astros are not put out by having to go to Minnesota. That's not a hardship. And it's very awkward because a lot of these matchups, except for the Blue Jays and the Rays, has been teams that haven't seen each other all year. And, if again, the spin doctors, all with the Shane Bieber this and Shane Bieber this, and I'll admittedly, I've seen one of his games all year long, but he got shelled. And the Yankees are not that good. And now it's the obnoxious Yankee fans, the depressed Twins fans, and a stupid round that is just dumb. And then you get the spin doctors going, can you believe 8 games today? And yes, I'll watch. But Mark Miller had the line of the day yesterday, which was, boy, the soap opera people are going to be mad. So I made sure I tuned into my ABC affiliate at 1:58. I'm a cord cutter, and I don't ever watch live TV, but I did it at 1:58. And you saw the stars going, our adventures will continue tomorrow, but the chase for October is real. Stay tuned. And I said it, and it was like, oh, my God, I felt like it was in 1989 all over again.
Hey. Were you a Days of Our Lives guy or a General Hospital guy if you ever watched soap operas?
Is Luke and Laura still on that show?
I think so.
I think you can't ask that question.
And Marlena's still dead. I'm not sure. One or the other.
I was sick. I had the flu when the Mets-Astros game in 86. I missed school, and I saw every pitch of that game. And yesterday didn't have any of the intrigue that had. So, listen, I'm sure people wrote letters and all that stuff, and I don't understand how baseball didn't let ESPN put that on a cable network. They put NHL playoff games on CNBC. Why they used ABC, I'm not complaining, but again, I'm not a soap opera person.
Yeah, I think it's the four-letter network and ABC actually wanting they're trying to put more sports back on ABC. Because
they're trying to get the NFL.
Well, and because they've taken so much sports off of ABC, nobody thinks of ABC anymore for sports. And let's face it, network television is only going to survive by airing live sports. So I think that's why you're seeing more and more sports being pushed to ABC. Anyway, that's enough.
I think the first game of the Twins losing streak was on ABC.
Not quite. Last baseball game before yesterday on ABC was 95.
95, the World Series.
95. Unbelievable. All right. So any chance at all if the Jets lose tomorrow that
we're done with baseball already?
Well, you said you hate it. Okay,
no,
I mean, how much more are we going to spend on this? You and Mark both hate the 8 games. I find it fascinating. I do. What I really wonder is this thing is baseball going to stay with this playoff format?
No.
Okay. All right.
I don't think they will. I think the idea was, I think when the networks proposed it, and I heard this from the union, they literally just said, $50 million split both ways, no problem. Where do we sign? Let's just do it. And I don't even think they cared. And I don't even think a lot of people who agreed to this thought they were ever getting to this point. Hey, let's compliment the sport for getting to this place when you have teams in the playoffs that had major outbreaks and they still persevered. And I think that's a war of attrition in a 60-game season. But I don't think this is the future. Again, it won't be for 2021, maybe in the new collective bargaining agreement, but they're going to have to reinvent the sport anyway. This argument for the 3-game series, again, if you want to have the 3-game series, you have to accomplish 2 things. Number one, you have to find some way to reward the division winner. And secondly, you have to see that the division winners, general managers, and you have to get their thoughts, not the owners. Will they approve of 4 or 5 days off to start your playoffs? Because in my 26 years of covering baseball, teams love 1 day off. They will take 2 days off. They can't stand 3 days off because you get all your rhythm off. And most teams would say they would not like it. So that's not a reward for the division winners to give them a bye, but yet have this. And I want to remember, because pre-COVID, I would say this a lot, I love the 1-game playoff. I love the 1-game playoff because I can say, if you hate it, win more. But you can't say that about this because the teams won the division and they're still in this fakakta round.
It's the first time that's ever been said on the show, and
you got nervous.
I'm not going
to
try
nervous.
To
I loved it, and I could see your faces. And
I wasn't nervous.
What did he say?
I was trying to figure out whether or not I wanted to repeat it, and
no.
And I'm going to go with no. Seth, couple of numbers I'm going to throw out for you because I'm not interested in the 8 games, but I'm interested in this. David and I came up with a couple of over-unders. I'll give them both to you. 8 games today, strikeouts 120. Over or under?
It's 15 a game.
Under.
56 runs, over or under total. That's 7 a game, obviously.
Under.
So you
still have good pitchers. Like, I would think that Reds Braves game is going to be a low scoring game. I mean, watch, it'll be a 12-10, marathon game, but you would think. The one game that I'm expecting a lot of runs is, I think Tanaka gets hit up tonight. I think the Indians are better than what they showed. They had lousy defense too. So do the Twins, for that matter. And defense is so overlooked in the regular season, and we never talk about it, but it's one of the things that wins championships. And both the Minnesota Twins and the Cleveland Indians had really bad defensive plays. Now, in the Indians game, it wouldn't have made a difference, but the Twins game, it definitely would have. If they make 2 plays, the Minnesota Twins, they win that game. And it's not just on Sergio Romo. All right, Jets, Broncos. Let's do it.
Yeah, is there a chance? I mean, first off, I think the same thing could be said about the Denver coach, but you cover the Jets. I mean, what do you think the likelihood is if they lose at home to a winless team with a 3rd-string quarterback that Adam Gase doesn't see week 5?
I think it's a pretty good chance. I think that right now they're very torn within the organization. I think that firing a coach mid-season in the NFL has a very convoluted impact. To me, it's a punt on the season, which I mean, you can argue they're doing anyway. But if you're doing it to spark a team, it's not a baseball move. It's not a basketball move. This is in football. It's very, very different. If you're asking what I would do, I would fire him at the end of the season. And I think the vitriol and the anger towards Adam Gase is not that the Jets haven't fired him. It's that the Jets hired him in the first place.
Totally.
And
totally.
that's the argument.
100%
and,
right there.
Yeah, and so I don't think that Adam Gase, he's hanging on to this win and they're winning it for Adam or anything like that. I think they're torn because I think that they're starting to see what a lot of fans and a lot of insiders saw at the very, very beginning. The only difference is how did they right the wrong? And it's going to be very hard for them because the reality of it is if you're going to make Greg Williams the coach, what's the difference? What's the difference if will all of a sudden Sam Darnold be more relaxed? That's the only argument to fire Gase. And that's ridiculous because you hired him because he was supposed to mentor Darnold.
Well, and if that's not going on, I would be all for firing him. I think he's getting fired anyhow. You and I have already talked about this, Seth. And I understand all of the NFL people and the sentiment that we don't do it in this sport. You know, we can do it in hockey, we can do it in basketball, we can do it in baseball, but God forbid we do it in football because there's no track history of other than Art Shell coming on and doing well. Well, the problem with that is in a 16-game year, when you fire a head coach, there's a reason. The team sucks. So you're not going to get a next coach to take it all of a sudden and win 10 because you have a bad organization. But it looks largely like several of these players have quit on Gase. They don't like playing for him. And if you're going to go forward, you got to figure out with what guys you want. And it seems that there is such a disconnect between Gase and his players. Screw the media, screw the GM, none of that matters. But there seems to be a disconnect with Adam Gase and his players. And I can't have that if I'm running an organization.
They have all gone on Zoom in the last 36 hours saying that the comments that Bradley McDougall made after the Niner game were not about the coaches. It's about the players. It's only about the players. And McDougall came out again. Avery Williamson came out again. And they sound like they are hostage videos. They sound like they are literally towing a company line. And this is where I feel the disconnect because in a locker room, I can read body language. I can't read body language on Zoom. I'm not catching it because these guys are not. I can't get a read on these folks. But I covered the Jets 10 years ago when Rex was there, and Rex wouldn't know what the offensive scheme was ever. Like he didn't know what the plans were. When there was an issue with Mark Sanchez or whatnot, he would literally have no comment. But if you told him about the second string linebacker, he knew everything. I don't understand why head coaches, I know they come from coordinator positions, can't just pay attention to what's happening on the other side of the ball. I don't understand why Adam Gase doesn't know what's going on with his defense, and I don't understand why defensive coaches have no idea about the offense. There can't be that this is going to sound political. It can't be that you only understand one side of the game.
Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice are your two terrific podcasts.
And a cool Joe Flacco article coming up on SI.com in like 15 minutes.
Wow, which is funny because he doesn't play in the NFL anymore.
I know, but he was. I got a chance to talk to him yesterday, and we did a cool piece. And he's close. He's close.
Hopefully, he's healthy.
Sports with Friends is a lot of fun. Fred Claire, the longtime general manager of the Dodgers, he was the guy who took over. And just a little sign of the times after Al Campanis. And if you remember that fervor. O'Malley hired the PR guy. Think about that. He hired the PR guy to be the general manager, and he made the trade. He traded for Kirk Gibson. He also signed Darryl Strawberry. He traded John Wetland. He traded Pedro Martinez, and I asked him about all of it. He's also a cancer survivor and a longtime friend, and Fred Claire has a new book. Hold on.
Well, you don't have to plug his book.
There it is. New extra innings book. And it's all going to a charity called City of Hope that he works for. And so we had Fred Claire on Sports with Friends. And then for Hall of Justice, a guy by the name of Brandon Vietti, longtime animation director. There's a new, like, choose your own adventure Batman animated film where literally, you remember in the 80s, there was a 1-900 number where you could decide if Robin died.
I don't. Ironically, I don't remember that, Seth.
And that was social media before a computer was invented. Overwhelmingly, the fans voted to kill him off, and they did. And now they're doing an animated version of that where you can kill Robin again, or you can have him live and see what the ramifications of that would be. And Brandon Vietti put the whole thing together, and he's our guest on the Hall of Justice.
He's Seth Everett. All right. Follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice are the podcasts. Yes, Mark?
I was going to say Seth Everett, who, if allowed, would kill off the 8-game playoff and just have the division winners move on. That's really all I was going with.
I would just watch a General Hospital marathon over it.
Just remember, Days of Our Lives was on at 1 and
Drake
General
Ramore
Hospital
on
at
there?
3. Okay, you could be a fan of both because they were on at different times, and many people were.